these people, he'll see. He's gonna be okay. Come on, lady, give me your hand.
I have to, Annie.
No, Helen! No! Helen, no!
Come on, right there.
Helen, no!
Welcome to Sporting Cast, the podcast about the faces you know, but the names you may not. A series where we're going to follow character actors initially and then maybe move on to DOPs, composers, and go through the careers of some unsung heroes of Hollywood that just never have been in the spotlight.
Crushed it. That was great. That was so good.
Oh, you know, I've been in a podcast before.
I've done exactly one podcast.
I've done exactly one podcast before. I'm much less sweaty than last time, which is nice.
Yeah, it's good. We're not in a basement at your mum's house. Just in like
Losing our
mold
minds.
kind of surrounding us.
We should probably introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I'll start. My name's the Gabickery. I don't want to do this. I'm an actor, writer, director. Can I do that?
Yeah,
I
sure,
can't
sure.
do that. I should change.
You're just
that.
telling the truth.
That's true. That is my.
This is just your life.
That is just my life.
Don't be ashamed of your life.
You've
And
been paid for all three of those. 2 out of 3 of those. things.
2 out of 3.
And
of
don't
those
say
things.
which ones.
I won't say.
We'll just have to guess.
I'll
later.
never tell.
We'll never know.
And with me is
Hey, I'm Charlie. I am a person who enjoys watching films
Movies.
and supporting casts.
Yeah,
and podcasts. I have my own podcast called Gateway to Anime. If you are watching this podcast, you might be confused that we're not talking about anime, considering we're surrounded by literal posters of them. But I'm sorry, today we're not going to be touching on anime. Maybe one day. We'll
I would love to do
a crossover between the two.
Or like just talk about like some artists on Perfect Blue or like, you know.
I thought we were doing Jujutsu Kaisen today.
Oh, really? That's all of your notes are on Jujutsu Kaisen?
All of my notes are on Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, right. That's good. No, today we are talking about...
And I'm Seamus Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Seamus. I'm not a writer, producer, director.
Yes, you are.
Are you
writer,
literally
I've
producer.
not been paid for any of them.
You're a writer, producer.
Yeah, no, I am a writer, mainly a bartender at the moment, former actor. I would be an actor again. I don't know, cast me. You need a cop to tell you you're speeding. I kind of look like a cop.
And today, Seamus, what the fuck are we talking about?
Oh, today we're talking about Beth Grant.
Beth Grant, one of the jewels of Hollywood, one of the kind of best kind of supporting actors you've ever seen. If you don't know who Beth Grant is, her filmography extends from like the late 80s to now.
She's in well over 160 different roles.
The lady works.
The lady works and has, as far as I've seen, and Beth Grant is one of those people that you definitely do not you don't necessarily know the name of, but as soon as you see her face, and I've tested this with so many people, they go, oh, and then almost
You're
everyone's
walking down the street being like,
Yeah, no.
look at this. Who is this?
Have you seen this lady?
I'm looking for her.
No, but my favorite thing about Beth Grant is you show her to a new person and almost everyone has a different movie that they know her from.
Absolutely, that is so true. And she also has like a lot of films have, I won't say them now because we'll say them later, but she has iconic lines in most of these films. So she's not never the lead. Or maybe she's the lead in something. I haven't seen it, but she probably is a lead in something along the way. But not the
I did
Hollywood
some research
lead.
and like she's in like very small films and she's like had a chance to like kind of do that, but
She'll
never,
be-
very, very rarely.
She'll be top 3 in some, but I haven't seen anything where she's first billed.
Yeah.
And we spent a long time sort of tossing around various names that we wanted to do for this podcast.
I've got a list of like 120 different people that I really, really want to do. The like Our Cup Runneth Over. Like you could literally do this forever, which is very exciting.
But we did eventually land on Beth just because I think we just looked at her list and we picked out, and I guess we'll say it now, the films that we're going to be covering for this Beth Grant, I suppose you'd call it mini-series.
Yeah, it's a mini-series.
It's a little
Well,
mini-series.
actually, can we take a step back and just kind of talk about the genesis of this podcast?
Yeah.
Which is, Charlie, you've been doing your quite successful podcast, Gateway to Anime, and then and you have this wonderful kind of studio in your brother Sam's house.
Lincoln, how many characters could you name on the wall?
on this, literally, that's my neighbor Totoro. That's the guy from Akira. That's about it. Naruto. I know Naruto.
Good on you.
He's the Naruto guy. He does ninja.
Do you want to come on our podcast? Sounds like a good vibe.
Yeah. You guys.
Do you want a guest before Seamus does?
Yeah, actually, that would be really funny. We'll make Seamus's head explode.
I spent a full day as Lincoln was driving me around explaining the plot and lore of Naruto to
And
him.
Boruto.
And Boruto.
Yeah.
Even though I've watched less than half of Naruto, but I went through a real. We fully turned into an anime podcast immediately.
This was my entire plan, though. I was like, lure these people in here so I can literally. It's like a guerrilla gateway to anime.
Yeah.
And by the end of this podcast, you will be a fan.
Sounds good. So I'm going to be locked in a room watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. No, you have. Let me go back. Stop it.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, we don't need to.
Full Metal Alchemist.
No, stop. Not allowed.
I'm banned
This is
from
my
saying.
podcast and we do movies here.
I'm banned from talking about anime today. I'm also banned from referencing The Simpsons. I'm going to do it twice in this
Who
podcast.
banned you from referencing The Simpsons?
Because what we're going to talk about, I can't help but say that I'm not going to spoil what we're going to talk about yet. Lincoln, talk about this yet,
Beth
and then we'll
Grant.
talk about it. Yeah, but what movie we're going to be talking about?
Okay, let me go back. Charlie has a successful podcast, Gateway to Anime, and then I got the message that I've been waiting for my entire life, which is Charlie messaged me saying, hey, do you want to do a podcast about movies? And like the heavens opened. I've been waiting forever for someone to ask me that because I love talking about movies. I specifically love talking about movies with you two. And I've had this idea in my head for a very long time of talking about supporting actors and like other composers and costume designers and DOPs and all of that stuff, and kind of tracking these people over kind of the span of Hollywood, and not just Hollywood, all of world cinema. And I think I would really like to do quite a few Australian kind of things because we're Australian, and I'd like to kind of have a little bit of a focus on that. So this was kind of a really good excuse, and I was very the happiest I've ever been when you sent me that message. So
Makes it all worth it, you know? Just to hear that. That's all we need.
A little baby boy.
I don't care for films.
Yeah, no, you hate them. The idea is we're going to do one movie a week where we talk about the whole movie as a whole, but specifically kind of focusing in on this supporting actor's kind of role, their purpose in the film, and how it kind of adds to it, and how, you know, movies are made by a lot of people. And I think that's kind of a big part of what I want to highlight, of like everyone's special. And then you can track, you know, Beth Grant's work throughout Hollywood and like see different generations, huge directors, and how, you know, one person can kind of like Forrest Gump style end up in these kind of enormous movies. And I think that's really exciting.
What I find funny about what we're saying, we're sort of vaguely doing it chronologically, but we're picking like films that we really want to talk about. So obviously she's in so many titles, so we could have picked any of them. They would have been great.
And I said we should do 8 films. Like every miniseries should be 8 films, because I think that's like enough to kind of get a breadth of a career. And I was shot with a gun.
I could talk about Beth Grant for 8 films easily. Like you look at her.
So let's do it.
No.
Why stop ourselves?
No.
Why limit ourselves?
Because we want to talk about more than just Beth Grant. Maybe somewhere down the line, it's Beth Grant. You know what's going to happen? We're going to be talking about Jimon Honsu in like a year's time, and then we'll be, and guess who's there? Our Beth lady.
It's our girl Beth. Our Beth lady.
Our Beth.
Don't take Beth for granted. Sorry, that was Seamus' line. I snuck in there and stole it.
You don't have to. You don't have to apologize.
So today, sorry, you were gonna do it.
I was going to say she's been in several films that have won Oscars.
I do have
Yeah, but this is not one of them.
Really?
But robbed, I would say.
Absolutely robbed.
I believe. Oh wait, did this win an Oscar? No.
I know it got a nom.
What?
Yeah, this got a nom, I believe, for screenplay.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait,
it definitely got a nom.
It got an Academy Award for Best Sound Mixing.
Sound mixing.
Screenplay. Okay, there is a.
Hang on. Well, this is part of the purpose. You guys keep talking. I'm going to find out who.
Sorry,
mixed the sound.
there is a huge. Maybe we just sound up this. If there is a huge difference between best screenplay and best sound design, like throwing it out there. But considering this is an action film, hint to anyone playing along here, Beth Grant stands. This is an action film.
This is an action film.
Also,
And-
it will be written on the title of the podcast.
No.
No.
Oh, wait, we're not doing that?
No, of
We
course
have-
not.
we simply
So of
must do
course
that.
we're talking about the classic film Speed.
Jan de Bont's
Speed.
Speed.
The bus that couldn't slow down.
The bus that simply couldn't slow down.
How did I not realize that's what the Simpsons reference was?
Yes.
But
Oh,
how
is that a
about
Simpsons reference? Oh, that was your one of your two allocated
Yeah, there's
Simpsons
another one.
references
Don't worry.
that you're allowed.
before we get into Speed proper, why don't we talk a little bit about Beth Grant?
You're completely correct. Let's talk about
Absolutely.
Beth Grant.
Sorry, let's just shout him out. There's so many people that were on sound, but Dean Bevel appears to be the chief sound guy. Dean Bevel.
Wow.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
I love that I was so wrong in my intro. I was like, this one's not one, but it actually was secretly nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah,
Not so
absolutely.
secretly, publicly.
Yeah,
when it was
very,
nominated
they're very
for the
famous.
Academy
the Oscars.
Award.
Also, Academy Award for Best Film Editing.
Hey, look, I
Nom?
will.
Nom.
That
Both,
makes
both
sense.
noms.
It's
Okay.
beautifully edited.
It's so well edited.
Let's start with Beth and then we'll come back.
Let's start with Beth.
Let's start with Beth.
Beth Grant, of course, born in.
Oh God, no! I don't have my stuff up. I
You
was looking
said
up-
you were getting.
No, you're right.
I did everything else.
Yes, you're so right. Hang on.
I know she was born. She
Grant was
was.
born on September 18, 1949 in Gadsden, Alabama. Do you want more? She grew
No,
up
that's
in
it.
Wilmington, North Carolina. She moved around a lot as a kid. This is your stuff.
Beth Grant moved around a lot as a kid. Her father was a poultry scientist and poultry salesman, and her mother worked for North Carolina Employment Security Commission. She had a imaginary friend as a child who was run over by a truck.
Oh my God. Not
It's
a bus. Unfortunate, but that's fine.
Yeah. One of us. She apparently
One of us.
no, she had an imaginary friend that was run over by a truck, and her parents found her crying one day because she was like, my imaginary friend's been run over by a truck. Apparently, it was a moving van, and it was because there was a boy who moved in across the street.
Like
And
psychologically, that's why?
that's why, because she
Right.
was like, I need to replace my imaginary friend with this boy across the street. So she
Beth.
killed off her own imaginary friend.
Beth.
It's so weird, and it's like the first thing I've found about her childhood, and I was like, this is fantastic. But yeah, she described herself as a tomboy who liked to dress up as Marilyn Monroe.
Famously a tomboy.
Well, that's the thing that she said. She was like, I was a real tomboy, but I also really wanted to be feminine, which is this interesting thing that goes on throughout her early career, because she went to university to study a Bachelor of Arts in acting. And after her first year at acting school, she got pulled aside by the teacher. And the teacher said, you're not a natural, but you work really hard and that will eventually pay off. But you probably won't get work until your mid-30s.
Yeah, wow. There
And
you go.
that kind of like made her spiral because she always wanted to be a leading woman like Marilyn Monroe, but it didn't slow her down at all. She moved to New York after that to start a theater company with
Big
her
Apple?
friends. The biggest Apple.
The city that never sleeps.
The city that can barely get up. Get a wink. Where she started a theater company with her friends. She worked in a lot of off-Broadway stuff for a long time.
Yeah, I was seeing something that very early on she did a play where she played an Appalachian woman.
An Appalachian
Oh, sorry, you're
snake
getting to it.
handler, in
Yeah,
fact, was
absolutely.
her first role.
Sick.
Which is sick and also so in line with the rest of her career. Like, it is so interesting, even just her talking about her early roles, where it's just like, oh, you always got this.
Yeah,
like she's like
you're always that person.
Yeah, she's been playing like the mother in plays
Since she was 22.
Since she was 22, fully. It's like, I don't believe she played the mother. She did play the daughter in the Appalachian snake handler thing, but then she went on to be in a parody of the book Sid Arthur, where she played an old can woman.
Right.
Where she just pushed around
An
a
old
trolley.
can woman.
Yeah. She pushed
Interesting.
around a trolley full of food, and her only line was, food.
Well, hang on. We got to find some video.
I
of this.
can't.
That
There is
sounds
no
good.
video. There is no copy of the
Seamus,
play as far as I
find
could find, because I did read that. I was like, that's so strange, but we love Beth.
It's a thing that like when you are going through her career and looking at her credits, it is always Mrs. Davis,
Yeah.
Mrs. Harden, the angry old lady, mother of Terry,
mother
like-
in-house.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she worked in New York for a long time before one of her friends, Larry Pierce, gave her her first role in an independent film called 2 Minute Warning. This was when she was like about 24. So she moved to...
A feature film, 2 Minute Warning.
Feature film, 2 Minute
film.
Warning. And then she moved to Los Angeles with a lot of her friends from theater to try and pursue acting there after getting this role. All of her scenes were later cut out. After that, she sort of...
2-minute warning. A crazed sniper is set to kill spectators at an LA Coliseum football championship game, and the police race against time to eliminate. That sounds good.
Sick.
Somewhat similar to something that we are about to talk about, which is Speed.
Yeah,
you know,
kind
race
of.
against this.
Yeah, it's in LA.
I'm actually seeing a lot of similarities between the plot of Speed and Beth Grant's career.
Real
so
life.
far, like her real life.
She could not slow down.
She can't slow down. She's off to the races.
She cannot slow down. Or she'll blow up. But yes, she had all of her scenes cut out of this film, continued to try to do theatre in LA for a while before kind of dropping out acting for a while. She went on to do a lot of producing. She produced a documentary about aging for the American Health Organization.
Oh, okay.
And then she became the celebrity coordinator for Jimmy Carter.
Oh, wow.
Wait, celebrity coordinator?
So you know how
handle-
presidential candidates will have a lot of celebrities who endorse them, and she was the person who
she's
rang them up and asked them to endorse Jimmy Carter, and then
who's alive in 1976? Gene Hackman.
Yeah, like that.
Would you like to go on national television and talk about Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, and she apparently also did a lot of the
Gene
catering
Hackman
for
was
it.
your first thought for who was alive in 1970.
He's alive in 1970.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
No.
Famous celebrities alive in 1970, number one.
It feels like he's a big guy.
I feel like
he's a big
Gene
guy in the 70s. French Connection?
Superman?
Sure.
Look, big guy. I got you.
Big
but I feel like
Big
there's
guy.
other celebrities who could have... You know, I love that about you. You love Gene Hackman. It's your thing.
I do love Gene.
You're a Jane guy.
She eventually came back to acting in her mid-30s, re-rolling in acting classes and returning to independent theatre in LA. And she finally landed her first film role that she was not cut out of in a 1986 TV movie. And then the following year, she had a supporting role in the film Undercover, where she played, of course...
that movie is called Picnic.
Picnic, yes.
Beth Grant plays Irma Cronkite.
Cronkite.
Really good name.
Really
Not
Beth
much.
Grant
What's
name.
Irma Cronkite with you?
And then she went on to play Southern Teacher.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Exactly.
That'll never come up again.
Never come up again. But yeah, she plays Southern Teacher in the movie Undercover, where her first line was apparently "lose the gum," which is just a great.
That's her only line?
It was her first line. It's one that
Right.
she quotes.
Can you give me a...
lose the gum?
Oh, God. Seamus is... For the listener at home, Seamus has been working on a Beth Grant.
I've been working on a Beth.
Reviews are in. Needs some work.
It's gonna improve throughout the podcast. We got 3 episodes, and then finally in 1987, she tells a story about going camping with her husband, where she's right on the bubble of breaking big, but also kind of still not making enough money to live comfortably on. And she apparently, in the middle of the night, sort of couldn't sleep, walked out of the tent, went up to the top of a hill, and in her own words, screamed to the stars, "Okay, I'll be a character actor." And the next day, she booked her audition for Rain Man.
That's so fucking good.
It's so good. Yeah, so she booked her audition for Rain Man. The year after...
Will that work for me if I do that? If I go into the mountains and start screaming, "Okay, I'll be a character actor," because I'll do it.
I think you should give it a shot.
All right.
Let's see if there's some Faustian bargain you can make to have a Beth Grant-like career.
God, I would do it.
It would be so good. But yeah, she booked Rain Man. The year after Rain Man came out, she appeared in 6 movies
Hell
as
yeah.
supporting cast
That's
or
right.
also or co-starring.
Yeah.
And that kind of blew up her career. She has appeared in 3 movies to win Best Film.
Best picture.
Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah, wow.
That is a short list. As far as I can find, there are only 4 people who have beaten her in
Okay.
terms of appearing.
Here we go.
Well, first, can you name those 3 films that won Best Picture?
Okay, No Country for Old Men,
Correct?
Rain Man,
Correct.
Yeah.
and...
Big number 3.
She in Titanic?
No. This one.
It's not Southland Tales.
Not Southland Tales, sadly.
Although-
It's not Speed, although that did apparently get nominated
not
for a bunch
Speed.
of things. Can you give us a hint? Give us an actor.
I will give you a hint in the sense that this movie was...
Was this one of the games that you were going to say for the end?
I
That's
did.
fine.
I never said save for the end.
Oh, okay,
I said
we're
I
just doing
had
it.
games.
Throughout, people like games.
Yeah, we love
We
to
love
have
games.
games.
Someone's
Someone's shouting at their podcaster, their Sony Walkman right now.
Wait, we're releasing this on tape?
Yeah, that's on disc, on the CDs. We're releasing it on CD. Oh,
That would be a Discman. A Walkman is on tape. We're going to have to
okay. All right,
really...
okay.
Yeah, thank God for the fact checking happening in this podcast.
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
really important.
I have no idea if anything I said about her career is true, but I'm 100% on the Discman thing. Number 3 is a movie that was a huge Oscar movie that is
Yeah, well, obviously.
Completely
As it was.
forgotten.
It's a huge Oscar movie that
Can you tell
won
me
Best Picture.
the lead actor of that film?
No, because I don't remember his name.
Okay.
I believe John Goodman is in this movie.
Argo, fuck yourself?
It is not Argo, fuck yourself. Also, Ben Affleck's the
Yeah,
lead
I
of
guess
Argo.
you would remember the name.
This movie was a big deal for the year it came out and then hugely forgotten.
Can you give me a year?
It's 2011, which is earlier than I realized. This movie has a big shtick, is the other big clue.
Give me the lead. In the interest of time. I will sit here and just try.
Jean Darjean.
Oh, it's the fucking artist.
And it's silent. That gives her her third Best Picture role, putting her in the same category as Morgan Freeman and
That's
Jack
what
Nicholson.
I wanted to try and guess.
Well, the thing is, I would play that game, except I looked them up. They are the only people that have beaten her are like early stars. They're all black and white films. I'm not going to waste our time and let you give it a go. Bess Flowers, Franklin Farnham, and Robert Carnes have all gotten more than 4.
Those are names. That
Exactly. And Beth Grant, technically, was in Rango, which also won Best Animated Feature that year.
But that's not Best Picture.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in terms of Oscar performances, you could kind of put her ahead of Jack Nicholson by that category.
Yeah.
She's nowhere near on noms, but she is there on Best Pictures, which just is such a testament to how broad her career is.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's an insanely fantastic career. And what I love about hearing about this backstory, and this is like why we are doing this podcast, because we all, I don't know, a bit of backstory about our history. We all went to drama school together.
We did.
So we've all kind of been through a grind of like, to various degrees of trying to make an acting career happen. I gave up long before I ever tried. Beth is a hero as far as I'm concerned. Like that's something that shit's hard. She did it well. Good job, Beth. Whenever we hear about actors, it's always some kind of like, and then I was discovered, immediately landed this thing. It was easy for me because I got this straight out of drama school, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But then this is actually way more common, which is that people have gone, they've hustled, they've worked hard, they'd have to kind of accept that they might not have the career that they always wanted to have in their head, then have come away with one of the most like actually incredible CVs I've ever heard in my life. Like when we were reading her list, it was like we could do, as we said, we could do 8 films. We're not doing 8 films again.
We could do 15 films.
But I think that this is why we do it, because it's just so kind of fun to talk about her. And I also think her performances and things, she's very versatile, but also at the same time, she sort of brings a level of reality to everything that she does, particularly in Speed. And we'll talk about that.
It's very interesting her talking about the sense in which she has kind of been typecast. She talks about how she's cast often as like these very conservative characters that often like have an underlying sinisterness to them. One, she is quite religious, and her husband kind of makes fun of her for that, not for being religious, but she's like, why am I always getting cast as the religious character?
Wow,
It's getting better.
Holy shit.
Is Beth here with us today?
My daddy was always looking for a brighter sunshine.
That's incredible. Oh my God.
Thank you. But yeah, she's
No,
like,
do the rest of the podcast. In the voice.
we're gonna do this?
No.
Because you can open that door, but you can't close it again, huh?
It's just a southern lady. It's not very specific.
What is she?
I'm just saying there's no specific tick that you're going.
She talks, shut the fuck up.
Time code to Seamus telling me to shut the fuck up.
Not long. She talks about how like she struggled with not being traditionally beautiful, and like she even just like describes herself as like having, in her own words, a slightly cronish face, which is, I think it is such a Hollywood fallacy that if you met Beth Grant like at any age, you'd be like, this is one of the most striking women I've ever seen.
She's a beautiful woman.
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
She also describes some of her characters as like looking like a Rembrandt painting. And I think there is quite a classical look to her face that has married her to these frontier woman kind of roles. And she just, like, you hear her talk, and she is so many of these characters. She is bubbly and southern and sweet, and on some level you do have a sense that there is so much going on behind her eyes that it makes sense that you give this woman these roles that need to imply so much more than they can have in a scene.
Also, to be a character actor, I think is actually a great privilege as an actor, because it means you actually kind of get to act a bit. A lot of my friends who are doing work often play just variations of themselves, not that they're bad at acting, but it's kind of like to get to the point where you're allowed to play characters. It's pretty far, and like particularly in film as a woman, it's actually like pretty hard.
It's down the line.
Sort of, I know there's obviously different, like that might not necessarily be entirely true, but that's how kind of been my experience. So I think that she has the opportunity to act because she's fucking good at it as well. So people kind of saw her and probably went like, she's great. And now I know you can do that. So therefore I'm going to typecast you in this sort of thing. But she's typecast, but she also, I feel like her role between Donnie Darko and Speed, actually very different.
Very different. And speaking of Speed, perhaps we should get to the movie.
Let's turn the ignition and get this podcast up to 50
miles an hour.
Okay,
If we slow down,
let's talk about Speed. Speed is oh no, I didn't have this. Is it 1992? Is that right?
I think it's 1994, right?
1990.
It is 1994.
Movie directed by Jan de Bont. Jan de Bont, a famous cinematographer. Speed was his first go at bat, right?
It was the DOP, director of photography, on Die Hard. And this film was written by a guy named Graham Yost, who took it to the studio.
Another guy that I really want to do.
Really interesting career, but he took the script for Speed to a studio, wanted the guy that directed Die Hard, turned it down because it was too much of Die Hard clone. It's so weird that everyone was like, oh, this is a Die Hard clone.
It might have been, I've got some stuff that I'll come to in a second. It might have been in its first draft more of a Die Hard clone.
If you go broad strokes, you go hostage situation, charismatic villain, and those are the two, and cop. And then you go, that's broad strokes.
Is the villain
secluded
charismatic in this movie?
Yes.
Deeply.
So
I would argue more so than Hans. No, I'm joking.
Horny for Hopper?
Yeah.
woke up horny for Hopper, go to sleep horny for Hopper. Yeah, no, because it's also the single location thing. That's probably what made it such a Die Hard
But it's
clone.
got such cuts and anyway, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's silly to reduce it to that, but that's what the studios were saying.
Yeah.
And so it got bounced back from the director of Die Hard, and then DOP was like, I'll do it.
Oh, is there? We're also getting some yarn.
Oh, we're getting some yarn.
Well, I might come back to yarn as we kind of go through the plot of Speed and see, and if we can get some sort of commentary from yarn, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go through Speed. Seamus is going to hate me because my first note is, hell yeah, the old school 20th Century Fox opening. I love one of the greatest fanfares of all time. The movie Speed starts tracking down an elevator shaft. Here's my problem with it. It's at a fairly medium pace. It's like a slow kind of tracking shot down an elevator shaft. Not fast enough,
Do you want
IMO.
to know what my note was? It was longest elevator ride ever in the opening sequence, and then I've ended with, I think we might be underground, guys. And then we were not underground.
My note was just, this theme rips. Hey, look, Beth Grant. She's like fifth
we
build.
will get to it. First thing I noticed, Dennis Hopper in beautiful word art font. This title card and all of the speed with the slight yellow undershadow of
and
the title,
kind of like it's made out of metal.
Yeah, absolutely,
love it.
and as if it's running across, like it's running away from you.
It's going fast.
So good. Beth Grant does get double billed with Richard Lineback, which is very good. So we start Speed. We're in a basement. There's a hapless looking guy who walks in on Dennis Hopper doing maintenance work, and he immediately gets stabbed in the neck. And then Dennis Hopper says, "Nothing personal." And you're like, we're off to the races here.
Stabbed, not in the neck, in the ear with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, what a murder, what a murderer, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then my second note was, I'm going to track this guy's plan because I bet it makes no fucking sense.
Oh, and boy, are you right. We cut to a boardroom meeting ending. The execs are all moving towards an elevator that we've just seen that Dennis Hopper was fucking with. And the great Patrick Fischler is there. Speaking of some of the top tier cream of the crop guys, Patrick Fischler did a lot of work with David Lynch.
Is he the one that gets bullied or the one that bullies?
Gets bullied.
Yeah,
Gets bullied.
Figured.
Yeah, the guy's like, come on, Brad, what button did you push? Which is a good line.
I thought about that joke in particular because the setup is a guy being like, thanks for pushing the button. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to bully him for. And then the next line is, what button did you push? And then I had this full spiral moment where I remembered this script famously had an uncredited punch-up by Joss Whedon.
Oh, I was going to get to it later. I'm so mad that you already knew.
Sorry, because that is a Joss Whedonism.
Yes.
I immediately went, that was my thing. I was like, that's a setup that doesn't make any sense because who would bully someone for pressing a button in an elevator?
Yeah.
But the payoff of what button did you
press
press is funny enough that you forget that the setup doesn't make any sense.
So immediately they all get into the elevator. The elevator blows up from Dennis Hopper's bombs. We'll talk about those. And falls but gets stopped by the brakes. Immediately the cops show up. We will also say we are largely ACAB on this podcast. This is a very pro-cop movie. Maybe it is full propaganda, which we are not in support of, but the movie is still good. The cops show up. Keanu and Jeff Daniels. Like the first time you see them, it's a car flying through the air.
It's the best entrance. It's so extreme. Also, just because, like, why though?
It's like full Starsky and Hutch, and they're like, it's so good. And then they like fucking skid into a halt. Keanu gets out.
Looking good.
Holy moly.
I knew you were going to say that.
Holy moly, he looks like a snackaroo. No one's ever looked better. He's in his SWAT gear or whatever sort of gear he wants. Jeff Daniels, I will say, is also there.
I think Jeff Daniels looks quite good.
I'll talk about Jeff Daniels later. I think he's great in this movie.
Just talking about the hottie that is Keanu, I want to bounce back to a Bond quote, which is...
Sorry, a James Bond quote?
That's right.
Bounce back to a Jan de Bond quote.
Oh, Bond.
Yeah, I was like...
Bond.
Yeah, Bond.
Yeah, Bond.
Bond.
James Bond.
The name's Bond.
Jan de Bond.
Jan Bond. Which is the casting of Keanu Reeves. He apparently cast him because he's non-threatening to men because he's not too bulky but looks good to the ladies. Which is...
That's crazy. He's
I
fucking
know.
jacked in that movie.
He's so good looking.
Yeah.
And just for this... Jan's like not an unattractive man.
He's a pretty handsome guy.
But for him to be like, yeah, he's not too bulky, he looks good to the
yeah,
ladies.
he's like, I'm not intimidated by you, Keanu.
I'm not intimidated by Keanu Reeves.
I guess so, like at the time though, action heroes were more like Bruce Willis.
It was Arnie.
Like the
Arnie
Arnie's and the Bruce and the kind of like really like hectic, masculine, like, you know, whereas Keanu's obviously like beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's jacked and hot as fuck. He should have been intimidated by Keanu as well.
He should have been.
Agreeing.
Everyone should.
Everyone, except for maybe some
the
line
Baba
delivery.
Yaga.
some line deliveries from Keanu. Having a rough time.
Fully
There's a rough
disagree.
ADR on this film,
We'll
which
get
is
to
interesting considering that was nominated for Best Picture for
sound
best sound design because some of the ADR is interesting. So,
and best
rough
picture
year.
for its sound design.
So the hostage situation is described. Dennis Hopper explains that he wants $3.7 million. Very specific number. Never fully explained, but explained enough.
I love a breakdown in a movie that's like, here's the situation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it just does it and it like sets up like this big puzzle map.
Mac,
for you to-
who is a wonderful character actor, plays a cop or like in everything. He's just like the voice of authority. Daniels and Keanu makes a joke of like, Daniels will go look at the bomb. And then Daniels is like, we're both going. They both go to look at the bomb. Then Keanu and Daniels kind of run off. They run up the stairs. They find the hostages and the bombs on the brakes. And Keanu kind of immediately like goes into action hero mode. Decides to attach a crane to the elevator. Elevator blows, but is caught by the crane. The crane can't hold it. The people in the elevator start to scream and go crazy, and they fall jerkily as the crane busts through the building. An incredible sequence. It's kind of this like just classic good times at the movies.
It's like just a perfect action sequence.
Yeah.
Except for the one thing that I watched, I thought immediately when I saw this sequence was that cable's too thin to hold an elevator. And I was wrong because the crane is too weak, which was a weird twist on the moment.
Great twist.
It's a good twist.
It's like the rope is fine at all times.
So this was added to the script after the pitch initially because the feedback from the studio was there's no way that people will sit through a movie that's just set on a bus. So he added this sequence as well as
the end sequence.
Yeah,
right.
This was inspired by Jan de Bont getting
trapped in an elevator.
Getting trapped in an elevator on the filming of Die Hard.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, fun. Great. Okay, wait. So Jan added it.
I believe Jan was on board at that point, or
Absolutely.
maybe it was Graham, but I do know it was.
Inspired
I think it was
by-
Jan because he was the one DOP on Die Hard at the time.
Yeah. So they catch up to the elevator hostages. They pry open the door, get the passengers out just in time, and the elevator finally crashes to the floor.
What you have skimmed past is the absolutely bananas line from Dennis Hopper when he realizes that Keanu is trying to throw a wrench in his plan.
What does he say?
Don't fuck with daddy.
Don't fuck with daddy. It's the best.
Don't
fuck with daddy.
It came so out of nowhere for me. And I also love...
I have it underlined in my mind. I loved it.
Don't fuck with daddy. Well, he's right.
Don't
shouldn't.
fuck with daddy.
shouldn't
And
fuck
Dennis
with
is
daddy.
doing just the most kind of halfway between menacing and doddery performance.
Should we talk about it now? Let's talk about Dennis now. I think this performance is fully insane. He is in a different movie. And
I don't know what you mean. What movie could he
It's
possibly
like
be
he
in?
could
other
be in
than-
Batman. He's playing like a Riddler-esque
Yeah,
character.
that's
so
he's
good.
literally in a superhero film, and I'm
notes.
here for it.
Yeah, it's there's just some like stuff that he does with his eyebrows that is very like has never been captured on film before. There is a wildness, and I know Dennis Hopper famously wild.
Yeah.
Like that's his bit. But holy smokes, I was like, this is the least grounded performance in a way that is maybe incredible. Of like, it's so grounded, it's like flying in the sky. It's awesome.
It's pretty incredible. And he spends the first 5 minutes of this movie, when you see him, staring at the ceiling looking confused.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's getting like weird little things on his radio. He's patched into the cop's radio and he's just kind of like looking up, just going, kind of coughing and like,
Yeah, kind
making
of spluttering
weird
around
noises.
and being, and really having a tough time
like,
kind of moving
big
at all.
old guy
It's a
acting.
bit later where he opens a bottle of Coke and it's the best open of a bottle of Coke
It
you've
is the
ever
best
seen. And he
open.
like laughs like a maniac when he opens it.
So
Fuck, it's
good.
so good.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
Anyway.
He's like clowning. It's like a whole
Yeah,
clown
it
performance.
is, yeah.
And I feel like at that time, a lot of villains and that kind of thing were more like stoic or a bit like,
Yeah, you
Russian.
put
basically.
him and Alan Rickman in the same,
Yeah.
same, and you're like, those are two very
Different-
different styles of performance.
They are different styles, but they aren't, I think, that different a level.
Well, there's super villains and there's like different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Alan Rickman is doing the Alan Rickman, which is reserved, cool, calm, collected, can never be surprised. And Dennis Hopper
Dennis Hopper is in a constant state of surprise.
Yeah, by his own joy and actions. He's a science fair volcano full of firecrackers.
I will
And
say
yeah.
he is having the best time, both the character and Dennis Hopper.
Yes.
And I think that the character and also just like, God, I think that the director, I'll talk about this later, I feel like they've made everyone who is watching this movie, every bystander, everyone have the best time. They're always cheering and celebrating. And
Everyone's having
like
such
they're
a
having
good
the
time.
best time. And I'm kind of like, is this really fun? This like, especially the head cop. He's always like, yeah, and he's
That-
like, you've got 9 lives.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
woo. And I'm kind of
It's
like,
like,
this is the worst
oh,
timing.
God.
Like, you've got a bus full of hostages, and he's literally just like dancing in the background.
Howard Payne is Dennis Hopper's character's name.
Howard Payne, of course.
Howard Payne. That's good writing.
But he kind of sets up that vibe, I think.
Also, Dennis Hopper, sorry, this was my big thought about Dennis Hopper. He is just bombs away from The Incredibles. Like, he is just that character.
You
Yeah.
mean the French mime?
Yeah. Who has a bunch of bombs. The amount of bombs that Dennis Hopper
By
has
the way,
in
that
this
character's
movie.
name is not Bombs Away.
Oh, sorry,
It's
okay.
Bomb Voyage.
Oh, perfect. It's even better.
Moron.
Bon voyage.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I'm a
People
piece
love
of
it.
shit.
Like people, characters that are obsessed with bombs, like Jinx from Arcane. Yeah, like people love them
We
to be
love a bomber.
unhinged in like a kind
Is
of
this
like
anime?
yeah.
Okay, it's not allowed.
Western anime.
Western anime.
Oh, it's
French.
fine.
It's French.
So after they save all the hostages, Keanu Reeves and Jeff Daniels look for the terrorist, and Keanu Reeves has a hunch that he's in the building, even though he would have no reason to be in the building.
No, this is actually a good little bit of foreshadowing. He figures it out because he sets the timer off early.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
right.
says, "Bitch is early" is actually the quote.
Yeah.
I think. Hang on, let me just check. I've got
Bitch
it because
is
I wrote
early
it.
or bitches early?
No, bitch is early. Like the
Yeah.
bitch. The bitch is early.
Yeah,
like
like
that he hit it
Keanu
early.
Reeves is
Yeah,
the bitch.
'cause he's like-
I'm not saying that.
Oh no, Keanu
me
Reeves
No.
is talking about.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, about
because the
Dennis.
bombs
I would also
go off
never say that
early.
about Dennis Hopper.
because Dennis Hopper realizes that they're trying to thwart his plans. And Keanu's like, why would it
was
go
he
off
early?
early unless he knew where we were?
Wonderful.
And then he figures out that he's in a service elevator, which just means the cops did the laziest job.
Laziest job. Why would you not check? That is.
It's like all the other elevators are ground. The other line was, he'll want to stay mobile. And then Keanu Reeves goes, must be in an elevator.
You wouldn't want like a car or like
A
an
pair of
elevator
roller
is
skates.
Such a bad plan.
Such a bad plan.
Like
Also-
you are in a contained box that can only move in one direction.
Was it just me or was it like Jeff Daniels and Keanu Reeves were by themselves for a long time? And
Yeah.
I was like, what are the rest of the SWAT team
hanging
doing
out.
at this point? Like, they kind of
Yeah.
get there eventually.
They
I know
do
they're
get
like,
there eventually.
But yeah, it takes ages. They have a
they're-
full, they
I guess
tie
they're
a
clearing.
cable.
They're like clearing the building.
They're
Yeah.
on ground level trying to stop the Dennis Hopper potentially getting away, but that's later. Like, that's after
Yeah.
Keanu has gone in. Yeah, the cops do just be hanging around a lot in this movie.
So Keanu
Or
Reeves,
celebrating, depending on what's
celebrating.
happening.
Keanu Reeves and Jeff Daniels find the elevator, the service elevator that Dennis Hopper is in. Jeff Daniels jumps in, immediately becomes a hostage situation with Jeff Daniels. They've had the conversation, the running theme of pop quiz hotshot, and he says, "What do? You shoot the hostage." And this is where I was like, how many bombs does this guy have? Because Dennis Hopper immediately is like, I've got another bomb on me, strapped to me, starts dragging Jeff Daniels away. Keanu Reeves shoots the hostage, shoots Jeff Daniels in the leg. Then Daniels drops. For some reason, that means that Dennis Hopper can't explode the bomb.
Dennis Hopper just slowly watches Jeff Daniels fall down next to him, and his confusion is, it seems to be the tactic of shooting the hostage is you'll baffle your enemy.
But also, like, he's heard the conversation like he was listening to them because he was on the frequency. So he heard the pop quiz hotshot. He must have, because he says pop quiz hotshot.
Yeah.
So
Several times.
he knew that's what they were going to do. Then they do it, and it happens very slowly. And Jeff Daniels just kind of slowly falls to the floor. And now, like, Dennis Hopper is still holding the bomb.
Because
Like,
he
if the
doesn't want to
idea was
die, though. He wants to fake his death. So if he detonated that bomb there, he would die as well.
But then what is the hostage situation?
Don't know.
Nothing.
Literally no clue.
They just-
Because they would have shot him if he didn't. He was like trying to, I think I know.
Yeah, why didn't you just... Yeah, anyway.
Look,
If
I
you can
hear
shoot
you.
Jeff Daniels in the leg, you can probably shoot Dennis Hopper in the head at that
Yeah.
point. And even
As
like,
if he wouldn't
Well, you
call his
can't.
bluff.
Yeah, you can't shoot him in the head because
Because he's
he'll
holding a
drop
bomb, yeah.
So you can't shoot Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
So
Plot hole,
Dennis
number
Hopper
one.
escapes, and then
Dennis Hopper looks down at him, turns to Keanu, laughs, walks out the door slowly. The door then blows up.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest exits in cinema.
And what must, I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen Speed, but Dennis Hopper, even after that explosion, is still alive. But Dennis Hopper must have, like, taken off the bomb suit, thrown it at them, and then released
I think
it.
he rigged the door. I think the implication is that he rigged the door.
No, he
He
didn't.
had another bomb?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He put the... Look, I'm sorry, there's a lot of bomb, like, vest concern I have, particularly at the end of the film, where I'm like, and they're not worried about this bomb vest lying next to them
Crazy.
during this train crash. So we'll tell you later, but I'm just like, there's a lot of, I'd love to track the bombs in the film.
There are a
That'd be
lot
good.
of inconsistent bombs.
Yeah, but I don't think he rigged the door up. I reckon he threw...
I do.
must. He has to
I
take
think
throw
that's
it
more
at-
fun for him
and
to
then
take
run
it off and just be
away.
like, uh-oh.
That makes
That makes
sense.
more sense. I assumed the door must have been rigged because
at
of the
this
way the
point-
door explodes.
And of course, after that, Keanu Reeves and Jeff Daniels win medals for absolutely being like the worst justice that has ever been wrought. But they saved the hostages, I said, for cop excellence. Dennis Hopper, of course, not dead. He's watching the news where they're playing the police winning medals on the news.
I feel like that's not as weird in 1994 as it would be now.
Drinking what appears to be a glass Coca-Cola, which I just think is a great choice.
Yeah.
And seems like, it would traditionally be a beer, but he's like, no, I have to
stay
I
sharp.
have to be sober.
I have to make some bombs.
Yeah, I've got to make these Russian bombs. We cut to the next day. Keanu goes to his favorite coffee shop and orders a coffee and multiple muffins. And I want to talk about this because there's no judgment, but I feel like someone that is that svelte would have a muffin limit. And it seems like a bad character choice that he orders multiple muffins.
And he goes there daily.
He
Because I
goes
know
there
it, like,
daily. That's 2 muffins, if not more, a day.
I wish that he was like, just the regular, just
Yeah.
the usual, please. But
Yeah.
we can assume that's his usual.
Yeah.
His
Unless
usual
he's just
order
celebrating
is
'cause he's
a
hungover.
coffee and 2 muffins.
He's hungover. Don't forget.
He is
He is
hungover.
hungover.
I do want to
Yep.
just jump back quickly. They all get drunk together at a bar. It's the classic, you're too reckless, Keanu conversation. But it ends with Jeff Daniels turning around, standing up and saying, I'm going to go home and have some sex. Like a man that has never had sex in his life.
Yeah, I'm going to go home and have some...
It
It's
is
really good.
the worst. It is the worst line in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that line. I like it. I feel like, particularly the rebuttal, as you said, it's a setup where he's
You're gonna-
like, no, you're going to go home and throw up. And he's like, both sound good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the Joss Whedon. That's a Joss
almost
Whedon
certainly
edit.
That is a
Joss
Whedonism, almost certainly. A man that has never had sex but will set up a joke.
So we're at the cafe. A bus driver friend of Keanu's walks in, calls Keanu fat. Now,
He does.
one, that doesn't make any sense. Like, because he's like, I saw you on the TV last night. He's from New York, this bus driver in LA. And Keanu's like, oh yeah? What did you think? And he's like, you looked fat. It's like
Obvi-
wild energy.
Well, this character is Keanu Reeves' mother.
Yeah. Darling, you looked fat.
Maybe he saw the muffins and he was like, you better settle down.
That's my big
yeah,
theory.
maybe.
So, then the bus driver friend gets into his bus, starts to drive off, and it immediately blows up. Why the fuck does that happen? So, Dennis Hopper, I guess, knows that that's Keanu's favorite cafe.
Bus.
He does,
right?
he knows.
No, it's his favorite bus.
But he's not
he drove there.
He's not catching a bus.
No.
So he knows that him
It's
and this bus
foreshadowing
driver
the bus.
Wait, no, Dennis Hopper's foreshadowing?
Okay, but if he's
This
like,
makes perfect sense
if
to
the,
me.
if the plan is, if the plan is, I'm going to blow up a bus so Keanu knows I'm serious.
And also so the cops know he's serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
An empty bus. Well, one driver. But, you know,
one driver,
not-
our friend, our fatphobic friend.
Don't fat shame. That's the moral of the story.
Don't do it.
This will
Or
happen.
Dennis Hopper will get you.
We figured out his motivation.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
absolutely. So let's just assume that Dennis Hopper knows that that's where Keanu will be. Not only that, he knows the bus timetables. That's fine. He also knows that Keanu and that guy, who must have had like a couple conversations in their life, they're not like besties. He's never been over to his house.
No,
and he's like, you know what will really affect Keanu? I'm going to kill his bus driver best friend in a bus that's parked just outside and then call the telephone right next to where the bus blows up.
It's sick.
You're
And
missing
then he's like, Keanu. And Keanu's like, well, that makes sense. It doesn't.
You're missing one. You're missing a silent rule of this movie, which is also one of my favorite rules of this movie, which is everyone is really good friends with their bus driver.
That is,
It's true.
It is
Best
so
friends.
true.
Everyone is best friends with their bus driver,
Yeah.
and frankly, I wish I lived in that world.
Yeah. That also, all bus drivers have the same route every day. There's no changes. You get on the bus, and then that's your bus.
Yeah,
for life.
you drive the 364, and
Yeah.
you get a muffin with your best friend Keanu, and then you take the kids to school.
So Dennis Hopper calls a payphone. We're like 15 minutes into this movie.
Less.
We haven't even got to the main
I think this is the
section of this
12-minute
film.
mark.
I also just want to say, I think he was buying a muffin for Jeff Daniels. Not to like, because he's going to work. I'm sorry to debunk your theory.
Interesting.
But I think that's
I don't
also-
know. Was my theory that Keanu Reeves is going to put on weight after this? So like, I don't know if there's. It's not.
he orders a lot.
I've got red string attached to JFK head blowing up to 2 muffins in speed.
But I think he was buying with Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Dennis Hopper calls a
Solve the
payphone,
mystery.
but we don't know that he's going to Jeff Daniels' house. Do
He's
we?
going to work.
No, he's going to work.
he's
Because
going to
Jeff
work.
Daniels-
He goes, later, he's like, you better not be calling in sick.
because I
Yes.
drank.
I'm
Sorry,
hungover.
You know what? You're so right.
Yeah, I think
Speed
you're
is the
fully right.
perfect
And that's
movie.
meant to be set up to
And
be
can
like
you explain
their best
why the
friend.
bus driver friend is friends? Anyway,
Because everyone's
It's a
friends
warning
with their
bus
bus
bomb.
driver.
it's a warning bus bomb. Totally, 100%. That makes sense.
He's always there every day. It doesn't even matter who the guy is. He knows that guy goes there every day. He's going to be there. Of course, it makes literally no sense.
No,
But
it makes perfect sense.
Dennis Hopper calls a payphone next to the blown up bus. Keanu answers it. Dennis Hopper in this scene, he's in a car and he just tears up the sides of the screen. He is going off. It's incredible. He tells Keanu Reeves about another bus he has to get on that has a bomb on it. How do we feel about the premise of the movie Speed?
Excellent.
It's really
I
good.
truly have no notes.
Yeah. What if a bus was fast?
Or not so fast. You know? That's the
50
thing.
miles an hour is like 70 k's,
Yeah, it's
right?
a lot.
About 75.
That's fast.
It's fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And
Especially when they're like going through the city and
when none of the roads are finished or tracks.
none of the roads are finished.
Nothing's finished
No
in this
roads
film.
finished. My initial thought on it was, oh, that's so contrived. And I was like, but I do think the simple idea of him being like, they got to the elevator. What's faster than an elevator with more people on it?
Well, that's why the movie starts with a slow tracking shot of an
And then-
elevator because we're only going to get faster.
Because he was like, no one can get on an elevator whilst it's moving. And then Keanu did. So he's like, I gotta step it up. So he puts it on a bus.
Yeah.
I actually think it is clever in the sense of like,
In a lot of ways, buses are the elevators of the roads. So, cut to Sandra Bullock is running late for a dang bus.
God, she's good at being late.
Yeah, she's so good at it. She's good at being flustered. The bus driver is played by Hawthorne James, who is a big guy. We got to touch on him at some point in our lives. She gets on. They're the best of friends, her and Sam. Everyone is very close friends with their bus drivers in this movie, just like real life.
And everyone hates the tourist.
Absolutely. So Sandy drops into a seat and like within half a second gets hit on by Alan Ruck. To be fair, shoot your shot. Absolutely. I don't know if I do that,
I just
but
think Alan Ruck looks quite beautiful in this movie. He's got like the most piercing blue eyes.
he's
and
an
kind of
incredibly handsome man.
It
Incredibly
took
handsome.
me 2 scenes to realize who he was. And I suddenly was like, it's bloody Cameron from Ferris Bueller. And then I was like, and Succession. I was like, wow.
Yeah. I think Alan Ruck, we'll get to it later, but I think Alan Ruck destroys in this movie.
I agree. I think it's kind of
He probably has the
quietly
most
best performance.
He has
the
the
best
most character development out of all of them.
Yeah.
By the end, we're like, you know what?
And the most gags, the most Whedonisms.
That's a self-insert Joss
So-
Whedon character.
Sandy gets up from being hit on by Alan Ruck. Who does she sit next to?
At
I don't know.
minutes
Who is it?
32 and 32 seconds, we get our first glimpse of the amazing Beth Grant.
There she is. She's in a little, she's got a little kind of patterned shirt on. It's a little flowy. It looks nice. And
believe-
she is immediately complaining about the traffic in LA,
Yeah.
which I've heard is bad.
Yeah. And Sandy, of course, replies, I love my car. I miss my car, setting up a great joke later.
So meanwhile, we're all exploding from Beth Grant's appearance. Keanu Reeves is chasing down the bus in a cool Jeep thing. Love his car in this. Wish we got to see more of it.
Yeah.
Love his cool Jeep. Beth Grant complains about the freeways in LA. Sandy says she misses her car. Everyone is very chatty on this bus. Everyone's like, my experience with getting on a bus is everyone is silent and maybe one person is screaming.
That's because we're all on our phones now.
Oh, it's the bloody
Oh,
phones.
it's all the phones.
These
We used
bloody
to have
teens on their
conversations.
TikToks.
Used to hit on strangers aggressively on the bus.
Yeah, and everything was better.
Everything
was
was
better.
better
When you'd get on a bus and immediately start talking about all of your likes and dislikes.
If this movie was made today, that would be Beth Grant's dialogue.
Yeah, all these kids on their phones.
Yeah,
no one wants to chat on the bus anymore.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, hang on. Okay, let's do it. Speed 3.
Beth Grant's back?
Beth Grant's back. I need to talk about, and it's coming up right now. Keanu hijacks a Jaguar because his Jeep crashes or something. There is an incredible performance from Glenn Plummer as Jaguar owner. He is given nothing to do, really makes it his own. I think it's a wonderful performance. He does like a ha-ha at one point while they're like going really fast. And he's like, you don't have to go so fast, man. Ha-ha. And I'm
He's
like, that's
so
great.
good.
Also, he returns in Speed 2 Cruise Control.
That is the best thing I've ever heard.
Which
Because I
is-
was like, what a waste of a character
Yeah.
as soon as he was off screen.
And so I'm assuming in Speed 2 Cruise Control, I will probably watch it. In this, there's the running gag of like, Keanu breaks off the Jaguar's doors and then you see it later and it's being towed away and then the bus hits it again.
A great line in that sequence is when Keanu turns to the guy whose vanity license plate is Tune Man.
Tune Man.
Yeah,
Tune Man.
He's the Tune Man.
So I've just called him Tune Man in my notes.
Absolutely.
He turns to Tune Man and he goes, I'm taking your phone. And he goes, take the phone.
really
So
really
good. Perfect delivery.
So Keanu chases down the bus, there's some hijinks, and then he gets on the bus with the Jaguar owner's phone. That phone is important just because it comes up. Keanu Reeves tries to explain the situation to everyone on the bus. One of the bus members, that's what we call them. That does not go well. Someone's immediately like, I'm getting this guy broke off a Jaguar's door to hop on this bus to arrest me.
Yeah.
A crazy kind of leap of logic.
Which makes me wonder what this guy's crime was.
Keanu forgives him for his crimes no matter what they are.
Absolutely,
Because you
doesn't
seem like
matter.
you're sorry.
Yeah,
he says
yeah.
that and you're like, what? Like, I have no idea what this guy's
yeah,
done.
Keanu's like trying to calm down.
I also think it's
Then-
the best actual police work he does in this entire movie.
Which is to say, I'm not a cop.
Yeah.
So then someone attacks him. The gun goes off. Sam's injured. We're in the movie Speed. Here we go. Then we get immediately shots of the LAPD, helicopters, cop cars, as if to say, how cool is the LAPD, an organization that famously did nothing wrong. So Keanu Reeves settles everyone down and then calls Jeff Daniels. We set up kind of the rhythm of this movie, which is Jeff Daniels is at the station looking up different bomb business, going through all sorts of things, and Keanu Reeves is on the bus getting into strife of various kinds. Keanu looks under the bus at the bomb, and Alan Ruck translates what Keanu says to Jeff Daniels over the phone. Ruck smashes this out of the park. Keanu's like, oh, fuck. And then Alan Ruck kind of stops for a second and says, oh, darn. And that performance is just wonderful.
He's so good.
Bus crashes off the highway and drives through the city, and it hits a lady pushing a pram full of cans. So the setup of this is we see, because it's like a Hitchcockian shot of like you set up the premise of what's going to happen, whereas there is these two ladies having a very normal conversation. And then the lady goes, okay, see you guys later. And then just walks this pram full of cans down onto the road without looking. And then the bus runs into it. The cans go everywhere. Sandy thinks she's killed a kid, but it's just a pram full of cans.
And the woman yells abuse at the bus with her
The woman
cans.
goes ballistic.
Good.
She's probably the most distressed any of the characters are out of this entire, like,
She's the
honestly,
least cool
she's
about
the
it.
least cool about it.
I love literally everything about that sequence.
It's so good.
Why does it happen?
Because it's good. I don't know what you mean.
It shows that Sandy has a heart because
Yeah.
she's worried she's killed a baby.
She's really upset.
It's a low bar, but it's some screenplays save the cat. Other people's have someone sad that they killed a baby.
And Keanu gets to say the line, "It's just cans."
Yeah, which is really good.
It's really good.
Performance.
It's
think-
also, I'm just saying, like, a lot of the characters in this film don't really care about deaths that much, as it turns out, which we'll
Except
talk about
for-
in a second.
Yeah. They are driving through the city. They have to take a hard right back onto an empty freeway. Great sequence where Keanu puts everyone on one side of the bus, and then the bus does a little like wheelie two-wheel thing around the corner, and they get onto an empty freeway where nothing will go wrong and everything is definitely fully built.
I think Sandra Bullock is so good in this entire sequence.
She becomes the driver. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
her main
sorry,
thing.
she's-
After
she's-
Sam has shot Sandra, who I love that she doesn't have a license because she got taken away
For speeding.
For speeding.
So good.
Really
and
good.
she's a fantastic driver.
And like her playing the stress of the situation, I like a lot of what the script does in terms of her being really competent. The way that her and Keanu's character work together rather than just being Keanu solving every problem. She'll bring shit up. She sort of brings him back in. I really enjoy her performance and kind of how that character is written in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of just all round good.
Up until we meet her, we've had several shots of women being hysterical in situations, including the elevator scene
Oh
where
my God.
everyone
Yes.
is getting out. And then there's that one woman who obviously they're trying to set it up as like a death flag thing, but she's like, and this happens about 3 separate times with middle-aged women being terrified of the situation, having to be helped out by the LAPD. Like, middle-aged white women being helped by the LAPD
Is one of the themes.
motif.
It's a running theme.
But I think, and also, you know what, Beth? That one of the main contenders.
One of
for
the main
this
ones.
trope.
Right here, she starts talking about how she's struggling and she can't think and she's having a panic attack. And which, to be fair,
Realistic.
realistic. She's the only one kind of really reacting to the situation. Everyone else is having too good a time.
Seriously.
I think like just trying to wrap your head around every piece of information you would have been given if you were in a character in this situation is so impossible. Just to be like, there's a bomb on this bus, and if we slow down, we die. Just
Difficult to process.
emotionally to like deal with that. I think the only person who does show us what that struggle would be is our Lady Beth.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I was reading a Collider interview, did a great interview with Jeff Grant, with Beth Grant. And I just want to read a section of it. She says, also, Beth Grant seems like you ask her a question, she'll just go, baby. Like,
Oh, yeah.
She's an easy interview,
Yeah.
which sounds great. She says, I'll tell you some funny things about Speed. The original script was much different than what you saw. Graham Yost had written real parts for all of us. The bus would pick us all up at a certain place. For instance, I had just gotten engaged and I had a baby little dog with me, and Sandy's character was a stand-up comedian, and I had been to see her show the night before. So look at how sympathetic I was. And then the part was changed to this whiny victim who jumps off the bus, and that was thanks to Joss Whedon.
Bouncing off that, do you know who the original casting choice for Sandra Bullock was?
No.
Well, what was the role originally described as?
Stand-up comedian.
Who's like the biggest female?
Roseanne Barr?
No. Biggest
That would be so
1994. Who's the biggest female?
Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen DeGeneres
Oh my
was meant
God.
to be in Speed.
That
And
makes
do you know
sense.
who was meant to be Keanu originally?
No?
Stephen Baldwin.
Oh,
So we nearly got
boy.
Stephen Baldwin.
Boy, and Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, they'd have such chemistry.
It would have been the weirdest movie.
It would have been a real character study, though. It sounds like it wouldn't have been like an
Yeah, it's
action
all of, like-
rom-com.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
like, because I do think that they have glimpses of the bus ensemble. It's like an ensemble piece, you
Yeah,
know, where if you
yeah,
have real
absolutely.
characters on this
Yeah.
bus, and we get to know
One of
about
them has a hard hat.
Like 4 of them.
He's got tools.
I feel for Beth. She could have had her little dog and her backstory.
To be, if
If there was a dog.
she had a little dog, I think the movie would be better. I think it's a look.
To one note.
I love Speed. My one note is Beth Grant should have a little dog. It's a really good bit. And then they have to look after it. And then as they're like crashing out at the end of the bus sequence, Keanu's like holding the little dog. Come on, guys. Come on,
Or
Yonder
the dog
Pond.
tries to jump out after her.
Absolutely.
There we go.
They grab it and
And they
save
grab
it.
the dog. They
stop
save
it.
the dog. And then he blows up the bus because that's
They
one
all
of the
die.
we
hostages.
get a close up of the chihuahua going under the wheel.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Oh, no.
Okay. Keanu and Sandy at this point, now they're on the empty freeway, they start to get to know each other. Good chemistry.
Good chemistry.
IMO.
They
I think
both-
they look really cute together. Would like to see them kiss.
I
and
have
get you.
never. Keanu Reeves has no chemistry with anybody. I'm sorry.
Disagree.
Never been more wrong.
What are you talking about?
He has wonderful chemistry
I think they have.
with Trinity. Trinity and Neo, one of the great love stories of all time.
Look, I think he's a blank slate. I really do.
That's part of his like.
His appeal.
That's
It's
his
like-
majesty.
and
It's
you're kinda like, maybe
he's a
I could-
listener.
I'm here to defend Keanu. I'm not here to defend the Matrix sequels. And Lincoln has put me in a real rock and a hard place situation.
Uh-huh.
I think in this movie he has exceptional chemistry with Sandy, and they also have both said outside of the movie they had crushes on each
Yeah.
other.
Of course.
I think that Sandra Bullock has enough chemistry with everybody to make up for
Sandy's so
any
good.
lacking. I actually do.
I think that
She had more chemistry with Sam, the bus driver, as well.
but I think
Straight up.
I think that works.
would also be a kind of a cute couple.
That would
Absolutely.
be cute. And I think that works in Keanu's favor in terms of him being a listener, is that like she's giving away all of this, she's giving off all this wonderful chemistry. And he's a RoboCop, but he's like
That's right.
slowly becoming more like human.
He's warming up.
But he's warming up.
He has,
Yeah.
he has
She
a little
warms him
cheeky
up.
smile. Oh, it's
We also have a bit of a foreshadowing there in the muffin shop where he's just like,
yeah.
you
Well,
woke up
Muffin Shop, I think,
alone,
is-
man. Like,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
so he's like setting up that he's single and like not really a commitment guy because he has a dangerous job and he's emotionally guarded.
Yeah.
Like we get that from the double muffin scene.
Yeah, and then
famous double muffin scene. So, you go.
Nothing to say.
Jeff Daniels, we come back into the office. He's trying to find who Dennis Hopper was. He thinks he's probably a cop that used to be on the anti-bomb squad. He's kind of setting up this thing. Dennis Hopper calls Keanu. Keanu does a deal with him to let the driver off because he needs emergency medical attention. This makes Beth Grant really mad. She starts to freak out. She tries to get off the bus. Okay, so there's a weird truck thing that is like they're using to like get people off the bus.
Yeah.
It's like moving at the same time. So they get they get Hawthorne James off the bus, and then Beth Grant goes to get off, and then there's a cop being like, "Yes, come, get off," and it's like, "No, dude,
yeah.
you're so wrong."
Yeah, he's bad at his job.
He's so bad at his job because like the whole point is like everyone's going to die if she gets off the bus. We've organized for one of these. Anyway, very mad at that guay.
Was there just like a lack of communication there? Like they forgot to tell everyone else standing on that other moving
But the
truck?
LAPD has famously never done anything wrong.
Never made
So
any mistakes.
I don't think I've made any mistakes.
Cops are great communicators.
Yeah, that's right. Famously good at communicating and have.
It's okay. They all got fired later on down the set track.
God,
so I can't
do
worry
love
about
that line so much.
Beth Grant tries to get off. Dennis Hopper has, of course, put other secret bombs. Smaller bombs that he uses to blow the like stairs off, and Beth Grant immediately falls out of the building and dies. Falls out of the building, the bus building, and dies.
Yep, at minute 59 and 27 seconds, we have our Bethxit.
Sorry, what was that? Al.
Bethxit.
I was going to say, how do we deal with life after Beth?
Well,
We were only...
so
that gives us a total of 26 minutes and 55 seconds of Beth Grant.
So the thing I will say is that this becomes like her death is like the important thing that kind of sets in the reality for everyone. And like suddenly we weren't taking it seriously. Now that someone's died, we are taking this bomb on the bus seriously.
It's bang on midpoint.
Yeah.
But also, her entrance is bang on second act. So...
First act.
First act turning point. So
really she's a real key point.
yeah,
in the movie.
she frames kind of the fun and games section of this movie where like it's all the promise of like, wouldn't it be fun to watch a bus go fast? And then as soon as she exits, it's like, now we have to get serious.
And honestly, her journey, like she made me laugh out loud in the scene where Keanu is chasing the bus. She goes, that guy really wants to get on the bus. And that's a line she says to Sandra. And Joss and I, my partner was watching, actually just lost it laughing. I was like, what a legend. She's just like, that guy really wants to get on the bus.
She's
And I
really
was
good.
like, she's hilarious. And also, because when we meet her, she is, chatting to Sandra like a chatty, and then she kind of has the most like she's taking the situation seriously from the get-go.
Yeah.
And so she brings that grounded reality into it. It doesn't last long, to be honest. They're still celebrating like 5.
Yeah.
They seem to forget about her death pretty quickly.
Pretty
in this
quickly.
film.
It's like a really important thing, and then they're like, and okay, so now there's a gap in the road.
She deteriorates really well. And she has like her big Beth Grant line is where she just screams, "What about the rest of us?"
Yeah.
And she like that's the bit where I'm like, that's what you get her for. That's what you get Beth for.
get her for that line.
Is to like she's kind of more measured than the rest of it, and then she just loses it on that one line and then blows up.
And like she plays that kind of in a lot of other films we've seen, plays like a bit of a side of humanity that we kind of always find a little bit icky, but it's actually kind of real. It's like that panic, that sort of like, what about me? I'm going to die. Like, it is probably how most people would react in a speed-like scenario. But not like, the other guy who calls him like Gigantor.
Yeah,
Which is
He's like,
everyone calls him
what?
Gigantor. He's not that tall. I just was
don't know.
so
take.
I was so weirded out.
He was
by-
pretty tall.
He's a big
pretty tall
guy,
guy.
but he's not someone that you go.
He's not
'cause-
like Dave Bautista.
No, it's like he's standing next to Keanu, and I'm like, yeah, you got like a couple of inches on him, and everyone's like, this is the largest man. This is the largest man on this bus. He
I
could
gotta
crush
think
me like a bird in his fingers.
This is the largest man on this bus, and therefore the largest man on Earth.
Gigantor. It is. That was a big.
Is he Atlas holding up the bus with his shoulders?
Yeah, that had a big Joss Whedon-y stink on it for me because I was like, oh, you're referencing a 1980s forgotten comic book character.
Which we're led to believe that Keanu Reeves' favorite comic book character is Gigantor, and
Yeah,
that this character
absolutely.
knows
He loves-
all about it.
Well, because someone calls him Gigantor, Keanu calls him Gigantor, and then like 3 other people start calling him Gigantor.
It just really
and I'm like,
catches on.
is this really the bus for bullying?
Is this the bus where we allow bullying?
At a time like this, do we
Yeah.
really need to make fun of this not large, but just largest man here?
Yeah, just the largest guy.
If
here.
anything, that guy is like the top of the social ladder on the bus. Like if we're
He's
going
kind
to
of
do
the
like
hero.
a social hierarchy on the characters in the bus, I think Gigantor is up there.
Otis. His name is Otis.
Ortiz.
Ortiz, sorry.
Ortiz. And I also think that, Beth is at the bottom, unfortunately. But she's in the middle at the start, and then she jumps off.
Then it all falls apart.
Yeah.
And then Ruck moves up slowly. Ruck go up.
Ruck, go up. So probably the most famous sequence in the movie Speed happens now. There is a gap in the road ahead. Keanu says to floor it. That jump sequence is just magnificent. It is still like, it is edited so well. It is, the performances from Keanu and Sandy are so good in that moment where they're like, and everyone's certain they're going to die. And then the relief and celebration after they make it is just like, that's why you go to the movies. Like one of the great action sequences of all time. There is absolutely no way that bus would make it over. It is a
There's no
flat road. There's
flat
no
road,
ramp.
right?
And they say before there's like, oh, it's an incline, and then it's fully not.
It's not
like,
at all.
It's like a turn.
The bus that they physically used
Absolutely.
was complete, had everything pulled out of it, had one guy driving it. They had a small wooden
They
ramp.
had a guy driving it.
Yeah, he's a stunt driver.
That's good.
There was this whole new harness that was designed. They got the stunt guy in, I believe, who also worked on Die Hard. I may be wrong about that, but he was the only guy who could really have done this stunt because he had invented the harness that allowed the driver to actually survive doing this jump. Because without that special harness, probably would have snapped his back in half. Watch the jump. They basically did clear 50 feet. It's crazy.
crazy.
But
So
then
They must have had
so
a
what you're
jump
hearing
though.
is that it was possible. Surely it went off a ramp.
It went off a ramp,
Okay.
but it's not that big a ramp. You can see a bit of the wood of the ramp in the shot. But then the other thing that's really fascinating is also the bus landed on one of the cameras, unmanned. But also of the 5 cameras, it was the only unmanned one.
Holy shit.
And you hear Jean de Bond talk about it. Jan de Bont talk about it, and he's like, before the thing, there's just audio of him with like a megaphone going, if I see anything going wrong, if anything looked off, I'm just going to scream, leave, 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 and we all run. And it's just like the most chaotic sounding event. But then you watch the actual footage, the bus jump looks like shit if it's not edited that way.
Yeah,
like,
right.
it's kind of like, wee, bonk, dunk.
it's still cool that they did that.
It's so cool that they did that. And the reason it works so well is because the editing, one, slows it down, does a thing that was kind of not new at the time, but was like inspired by apparently Jackie Chan movies, where Jackie Chan has the thing about showing the same stunt 3 times in a row.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They basically do that for the jump with so many different angles
Yeah.
that they extend what was essentially 2 seconds of footage into an 18-second cut.
Yeah, it's like using French New Wave techniques for action cinema. Yeah,
It's so sick.
Yeah, you show it from 3 different angles, and then the Wachowskis changed that all when they were like, we're doing all the angles at once, and then you just fly around.
I have a bit of a hot take about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my second favorite jump in the film because the first is the arrival of the car when you first meet them. That's my favorite car jump in the film.
Wait, which
Where
one?
you meet Keanu and Jeff Bridges.
where we see
and the
them.
car.
Okay,
That
that is a really good jump.
That
That is a really good jump. It also feels like stock footage.
I also don't know. I also agree that I don't know if it's my favorite stunt. Like, I think it looks good, but it doesn't like blow my mind.
I think I actually prefer the bit where they are turning the corner.
Yeah,
that's sick.
I think it's I think that's weirdly more clever.
Oh no, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong.
I get it.
I also love I love a later effect quite a lot.
But
we'll get
Are
to
you
that.
talking about the fucking plane?
Train.
Oh, the train. Okay,
An
I got
automobile.
thoughts about the train.
So now they bus it over towards the airport.
Bus it.
Alan Ruck says he's already been to the airport. That's
I actually laughed
It's a
out
really
loud.
good bit. It's a really good bit. Dennis Hopper lets Keanu off the bus for a bit. Everyone is weirdly fine about it. I would be way pissed if the whole thing was no one can leave the bus, and then Keanu's like, "Oh, I can get off." Anyway, very annoying. He flies under the bus in a little ski cart. I had forgotten about this part.
Love this sequence
me
so much. This
too.
is my other category for like favorite bit.
Jeff Daniels
Stunt.
finds out who Howard Payne is, starts to go after him.
Through the wristwatch that is
Through the-
attached to
that's
the
right.
bomb.
There
Very, very important.
Keanu gets stuck under the bus after a bit of wheel jams him in. Keanu's got to cling onto the bus, has to puncture the fuel container to save himself. So now they're running out of fuel. Jeff Daniels looks funny in a SWAT suit. We come back to Jeff Daniels.
That's unfair.
I feel for him because honestly, I can't not see Dumb and Dumber every time. Every time he does anything, and I feel for him because he's doing actually quite a good performance.
It's a great
in this,
performance.
You know? But
We'll get
great.
to. So he breaks into Dennis Hopper's home, Howard Payne's home. It's already bombed up. He realizes he gives one of the best Looney Tunes, oh no, I'm about to fall down a cliff faces I might have ever seen. The only one I can think of that's close is the ending shot of Taking Pelham 123, where Walter Matthau kind of gives a face at the end of it, which is incredible. But this is the same level of, he just kind of pulls a face like, oh boy, I've really done it.
Lincoln, can you do that face again?
Which one? The Walter Matthau?
Yeah. Great podcasting.
Thank you. Jeff Daniels blows up. We're really serious now. Lowest moment. Keanu goes crazy. Dennis Hopper calls, gives a final ultimatum. The final ultimatum is, of course, there's a bin they have to drop money in, which is great. Keanu realizes there's a camera on the bus, tells Mac, the head of the SWAT team, to tape a loop of the signal so that they can get people off the bus so that like the signal of the bus thing is looping. A classic thing to do in a Mission Impossible or a whatever. Certainly could have figured this out within 5 seconds of the movie starting sort of business, but that's fine.
I think the way that they figure it out is I think it's good. I think like the Wildcat thing constantly being referenced because
The Wildcat thing is really good.
yeah, because Dennis Hopper keeps referring to the Wildcat driving the bus, which actually turns out to be a reference to the university. That
Arizona
Sandra
Wildcats.
Yeah, because she's wearing a jumper, and Keanu Reeves realized that he must be seeing inside the bus.
Here's the thing. How the fuck does that technology work where the signal that the bus is transmitting to the camera receiver can be jammed and then have a loop played on it? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Radio.
You can't just say radio. That doesn't mean anything.
Radio waves.
It's not radio waves. It's video. A wonderful piece of movie
Wait,
magic. We do have
sorry,
our producer,
if someone
Joss.
is able to
there
say-
any way?
I'm just going to jump in here. It's very similar to radio waves. It is broadcast through the air, and you can send a stronger signal that will jam out the one that's being broadcasted. It's weaker. And that bus signal is going to be weaker than broadcast.
Eat shit, Lincoln.
Wow.
That's
what old TV used to work.
sorry, guys.
Picking up radio waves.
I've got to eat so much. I got to eat a huge bowl of shit.
Eat
right
some
now.
Are you going to eat 2 muffins?
I'm going to eat 2 muffins full of shit.
One for Jeff.
One for Jeff and one for Keanu.
2 muffins worth of shit.
All of my theories about Speed have been wrong. We'll put it out there. I haven't seen the movie.
By the end of this miniseries, you're going to be so full.
The reason that he tricks Keanu's character is he always references the newscasting, which is kind of like that there are choppers that are recording things. It's like, and that's why they go to the airport, right? Is to get in their head they're getting off camera.
Yeah, because
Also-
it's the free airspace.
This is
Yeah.
probably a point for a later moment. Why don't they close the airport?
Yes.
There's still flights arriving this entire movie.
That's right.
Which is the
It's
craziest
pretty hard to
fucking
close
thing.
it.
I think it's pretty hard to, like,
It's like
honestly.
within 15 minutes. Like by the time that we get to the end of
I
this
guess
sequence,
they
it
only
is
spend
closed.
10 minutes in the airport. It just feels much longer because it's half an hour of footage. But there are just flights just sort of, it still feels like people are like taking off.
Yeah.
Having like
They are.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like this film, I was just like, how
To
many
be
people
fair,
were on that plane? that
if I
just
was-
blew up?
Oh, we're getting to that.
Oh, we're getting to
I was
that.
like, did we really win?
Okay.
I will move on. So this trick that obviously is perfectly scientifically accurate and would definitely work with every TV you've ever seen, works. They get folks off the bus. Sandy and Keanu are still on. She's got to still drive the bus, and he's a hero. Keanu rigs the bus to keep going with a little pipe, and they use the bus's exterior lower compartment hatch to ride out of the bus. Extremely cool.
So it looks so good that the fact that they have to cuddle to
They
do
have
it.
to cuddle. They actually have to
cuddle.
cuddle.
They have to
They
cuddle.
have to cuddle to get on.
to survive.
We need to talk about when the hostages are exiting the bus, how we have that great moment from Alan Ruck. you
Yes.
know, where him and, what's his actual
Ortiz.
name? Ortiz. I just stopped calling him Gigantor.
Ortiz.
It's
You
like
really
I was
got
on
it.
the bus.
Yeah,
I started
like
this
I was
nickname.
there.
It's the Sanford
Like,
Prison
it's my best
experiment,
friend.
except for a bus.
Calling someone a name.
But yeah, they hug. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, 'cause they've been
Yeah.
in friction with each other the whole time.
Yeah.
I was more into that cuddle than I was the Sandra Keanu cuddle.
Well,
Both good cuddles.
yeah. All cuddles are equal.
we could have more cuddles.
All cuddles are equal in my eyes.
Yeah. Two life-saving cuddles in a row, actually.
So the bus keeps going and drives into a plane, killing hundreds of people immediately, and way more people than those were on the bus in the first place.
Like,
Was it
and
a
it's
cargo
sick
train?
explosion. It's a great explosion. It
Was it
must
a-
be real.
It was taxi. It was being dragged along by something, so the assumption is it's probably empty, but
But they do not talk about it.
they don't talk about
They
it.
had a moment though where they made sure that the guy who was doing the towing got
Hops
out.
and he's like,
So
yeah.
he
He's
was
like,
I
shit,
think
oh my God.
But it really is.
they
a
were
thing
trying
of-
to be like he was the only guy involved, but I was like, as if there's not workers on the plane.
There's
I
probably
can't-
cleaners.
Yeah.
Maybe the stewardess is like having a nap.
Yeah.
Like it is so like, why didn't you clear the airport?
Keanu and Sandy almost kiss. Almost
Hmm.
kiss. Sandy says the famous line about relationships formed under extreme circumstances never work, which we will come back to. Then it's the third act.
That is such a hot scene. Ah, they look so good, the two of them.
They look
The-
amazing.
The
They
two,
look so
those two
good.
movie stars,
Leaning over
yum
each
yum.
other. They like shoot through all the weird little red flags and it makes like a ticker tape sound.
Yeah,
I fucking loved that entire bit.
sound mixing, you know.
Academy
Oscar-
Award
Academy
nominated.
Award.
Sound
Best
mixing.
picture for sound mixing.
Dennis Hopper, of course, still doesn't know the bomb has blown up, so they try to track him down, thinking they'll trick him because he's still bamboozled by this interruption of the radio waves. Keanu escapes, being checked by paramedics to help the hunt. Dennis Hopper pretends to be a cop to kidnap Sandy.
Well, he
Who they
already
just
has
let
a
walk
uniform.
around near where they know the guy's going to be to pick up the things.
Yeah,
Why was
absolutely.
Keanu and Sandy anywhere near that scene?
Doesn't make any sense.
Why were they there?
Well,
He just
Literally
say,
no
doesn't,
sense.
doesn't Keanu be like, hey, can you stop here to the paramedic? Doesn't he ask them to stop?
Yeah, I mean, he wants to catch him himself, I get it, because Jeff is
Makes
dead.
sense,
You know,
yeah.
his best friend.
but
I assume.
why would the ambulance drive to the bomb pickup
To
location?
the crime scene.
The money pickup spot.
They're like,
Yeah.
hey man,
think-
it's LA, there's only one road.
Yeah, I was just like, why is Sandra anywhere near this? You
I-
think you'd be like, maybe you go to the
I
hospital.
think
I'll
the
go.
only possible answer is that they are so desperately horny that Keanu's just like, I just need to make sure this guy goes to jail, and then we are
I
going
thought you were
to.
going to say, and there's a convenience store on that, and he needs to pick up condoms.
He's like, he was only there to get condoms, and then like,
That's why he got on the bus in the first place.
yeah, no, I think it's like, as soon as I'm done with this, we're going to go have sex. Like that, we have to have an immediate date. We already know she's busy tomorrow. She set it up earlier
is
in the
busy
movie.
tomorrow.
She's busy tomorrow. She can't be in a hostage situation.
It's really good.
I love that line.
That's a really good line.
I'm not available to drive.
Yeah.
It's so
And
good.
then I'm busy. I love that it's like, I'm washing my hair. I love it so much. But yeah, I think that's the only possible explanation was like, we got to get down to business after this.
That is not the only. That's not even close to being an explanation for that at all.
To be fair,
it's
I
that Keanu is a
really wasn't listening
hot-headed.
to what you were saying.
Keanu Reeves' character is a hot-headed cop who can't let things go. His best friend's just been murdered. His other best friend, the bus driver from earlier, also murdered. So he's
His
getting
third
there.
best friend, Beth Grant, is dead.
People grieve
They're
differently.
all dead.
People do grieve differently. So Dennis Hopper pretends to be a cop to kidnap Sandy. Keanu realizes that Dennis Hopper has stolen the money by creating a little bin tunnel. Presumably, he must have created that bin tunnel with a small bomb.
It's the only thing that would possibly make sense.
Yeah, he bombs away.
It also is a really rough hole, so I think you're fully right.
Yeah, 100%. He has to have created it with a small bomb that no one noticed.
He made a little bomb.
He made a little bomb,
dropped it
a
in the
silent
bin,
bomb.
and he coughed as he walked away. And people were like, "Wow, that guy."
No,
coughed
but he
loud.
had to be underneath it because then the money drops. Also, it's not like the bin falls through. It's like it's a bomb that is enough to open up the underside of the bin. Also, the bin doesn't move, so it's a bomb that opens the hole underneath that is perfectly round, so the bin still stays there.
I think he
and
did
then
it.
all of the trash falls through, including the money.
I think he did it before.
But hang on, he only had a day to prepare this because his plans got thwarted the day before. The
You
day
idiot.
after
Wake
is when
up.
this happens.
Bomb
Wake up.
the bin, bomb the bus, rig the bus. God, yeah. The
Honestly, that's I was going to say, this is the least realistic thing is that this is his crazy plan.
This is-
It's the next day.
his elevator plan.
It's not the next day because they're winning medals, which I'm
Oh.
assuming is like a couple weeks later.
True.
Or like
That
a
is
week or
the-
so later.
You know
But-
what? I accept defeat on that one.
But
But
also,
still,
no, you're right because he says, I spent 2 years
Yeah.
putting together that elevator plan. And I'm like, that plan was shit.
compared to this bus plan, it's going
You
off.
blew
all
up
right.
some cables and wore a bomb.
Yeah,
This bus plan has-
elevator plan only worth about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The bus plan, give me an hour and a half.
If
of
you
it.
told me that was if you told me that was a 2-year plan, I'd be like, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
He also had to figure out, where he gets his coffee and muffins from. Like, he had to follow him.
He
and
did,
do
yeah.
all this
He
shit,
didn't know
and
who
all
Keanu
being
was
presumed
before.
dead.
just guessed. He just called a random payphone and got it right.
Oh, he dialed 40 different numbers before then.
don't see it.
Hello?
How many
Is
buses-
it-
40
this-
different
how
buses.
many
Did a
innocent
bus just
drivers
blow up
died?
next to you? Are you a
It's
cop?
fine if it's a cargo plane or a bus.
God damn it.
God.
Hello?
Dennis Hopper escapes with the money and Sandy Bullock onto a speeding train, with Keanu in hot pursuit. Coming into the landing now, Dennis Hopper opens the stolen money only for it all to be tainted with a purple spray. Probably should have seen that coming. He freaks out. He starts shooting the roof of the train.
He's a bomb guy. And it's an ink bomb.
It's an ink bomb.
It's an ink
should
bomb.
be stoked.
He's a bomb guy who used to be a
He should be like, yes!
finally a bomb I've never seen before.
Someone that gets me.
You've made me live. Also, he gives the most insane villain monologue just before this sequence where he goes, do you know what a bomb is? A bomb's purpose is to blow up and your life is empty because you spend your entire life trying to prevent that. Which is... And then
Yes, he's talking about like the platonic ideal of a bomb
bombs.
is of course to blow up.
What is it? What is a bomb that doesn't blow up? It's a cheap watch.
Yeah.
It is the most rushed villain monologue. And then Keanu Reeves' response, quite rightly, is just, "You're insane." And he goes, "Ah!" He walks away.
Yeah, that's the magic of the movies. So Dennis Hopper freaks out, starts firing an Uzi. He has some sort of machine gun, and he starts shooting the roof of the train. Keanu dodges it. Then Dennis Hopper gets onto the roof of the train, fights with Keanu. A crazy thing. So Dennis Hopper is like holding the bomb. It could go off, blow them all up instantly. He doesn't care. He's crazy.
Yeah.
He wants the bomb to go off.
Yeah, he's punching Keanu with the trigger, which is a great touch.
Great little bit. They fight on the roof. Keanu holds him up. Dennis Hopper gets his head chopped off.
You can't win. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. Dennis Hopper keeps saying that. Keanu knocks his head off and then says my favorite line of the movie, I think, which is, "Yeah, well, I'm taller," which is such a fucking good thing to say to someone you just decapitated.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Can you explain it to me though? Because I actually was like, does it just mean that he's got longer arms to hold him up?
No, he has no
he's saying
head.
Now he doesn't have a head. He's
Oh,
tall.
I thought they meant that he beat him because he managed to hold him. I was so confused. I even was like, I actually have a note where I'm like, hang on, why would that matter in this scenario?
Because he ain't got a head.
He was already taller than him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of where it breaks down.
he's
It's
got-
like, yes, you are taller.
He's got like a head on him now.
I think he was already substantially taller than Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Well, he's now more substantially taller.
That is a Joss Whedon line if I ever heard one.
And it's a good one. It is so good. It is such a cold action line. And then the next line that follows it up sucks ass, which is what happened to the bad guy. And then he goes, he lost his head. Which is
I like that more, maybe.
I like that more than I'm taller.
I'm
I
taller.
don't know why this is our fight.
Chaotic. I cannot believe that. I think I'm taller is the funniest line.
Can
He's
someone
so
explain
good.
to me? So go into the next beat because
He had no head.
No, I know. I need someone to explain to me
Decapitation is when you
what
lose.
the plan.
Because Keanu's taller now.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Right. Because in my head, I was like, if you were
don't
tall,
have
you might be
object
more
permanence.
likely to be decapitated by the thing. Anyway,
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense.
Because he has no head now.
I know, I get it now. I
Really?
get it. Yes, I do. I understand.
Because he's taller.
So now
What
they
happens
have
next,
to
though?
stop the train because the track is not built on this one
Oh.
either. That is an incredible coincidence that doesn't make any sense. And it is it's so cheap, it's almost better. It's almost like a masterwork of like, well, of course. What else could happen? Of course, yeah. And so I said maybe this is a critique of the infrastructural health of California and Los Angeles.
Honestly.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It
They're
is.
saying we've got to put more money into the infrastructure, make sure that the workers are paid. you know.
Undo the work of all the car companies and really put some public transport in LA.
Yeah.
I think this movie has a point. I
It's
want to
not
ask.
really selling public transport to me, to be honest.
To be fair, it
As in-
seems very dangerous.
I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
if I'm jumping on
maybe
any
it is
buses
the other
anytime soon.
thing. It's like get a car.
Get a
guys.
car. Sandra Bullock misses her car. She was right all along.
She was right all
Yeah.
along.
And also speeding's fine.
Speeding's
Yep.
great. Did anyone recognize the train driver?
No, I did not recognize the train driver.
Who also
who's
died
like in
unceremoniously.
3 minutes. Yeah, gets shot by Dennis Hopper.
You see
within
his
2
face
seconds.
once, and
Yeah.
I immediately went, "No way is that who I think it is." It is. It's Richard Schiff. Another
Holy shit.
another fantastic guy for the podcast.
Yeah.
Toby
Shiffy.
Ziegler himself from West Wing.
Yeah.
Richard Schiff. This is like one of his first roles. He's the train driver that
In
gets shot.
94. I feel like he's in a million things before
He,
that.
I,
He must not
I,
be.
maybe he's not, but he plays the train driver. He gets shot.
Yeah.
You see his face for 30 seconds, and I went, "Holy shit, is that Richard Schiff?" And I looked it up. It's Richard Schiff.
That's
Maybe
crazy.
he had a backstory before Joss Whedon got to the script.
That's
and they
right.
cut all of the train
Yeah,
drivers'
because he
lines.
knows he's a Sorkin guy, and so he's like, I'm going to fucking screw
What?
you out of a role.
But yeah, Richard Schiff in this for 30 seconds. Absolutely one of the strangest cameos I've seen in this movie.
He also shows up in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I was like, that's weird to see Richard Schiff. Anyway, Keanu, of course, he's only got one thing that he does. He speeds up the train.
I'm going to speed it up.
I'm going to speed it up. Yeah. so
What's
no,
the goal here? Is it to derail it before they get to the end?
Yeah, because there's a corner coming up. So he's like, I'll derail it beforehand. That'll be safer.
No, I think he just assumes he's going towards a ramp.
Always.
I think I think he's just like, it ends here, which means that there must be a ramp, is his logic.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like,
As-
I'll speed it up again.
All
It's like,
things
surely
end
slowing
with a
it
ramp.
down would have made way more sense.
Yeah,
No,
but
'cause he-
for some reason he can't slow it down. He can only speed it up.
Yeah.
He can't emergency stop. He doesn't try to slow it down.
Yeah.
He just goes,
He's just using a tactic he's known has worked before. He's
Yeah.
like a dog ringing a bell to get a pavlova.
Keanu
Absolutely.
speeds up the train. The train goes off the rails, up a ramp, and lands perfectly safely in the middle of downtown LA.
with a bomb lying next to them.
Yep, absolutely.
The
But-
second time they have to hug to survive.
that's right.
Oh, it's
And
good.
there's this moment that they're like holding on to each other very sadly, and there's like this like sad music playing, and it's like they're like planning to die, and then they don't, and then they kiss.
They don't just kiss, they fucking make out.
And
Crowd of people.
so
This is the
Keanu.
weirdest ending to a movie ever.
Keanu absolutely beefs the line that Sandy said earlier about romances that start in extreme circumstances. He like fully gets the line wrong, and I think they've kept it in because it is really charming when he
was like,
does. It's like
no.
romances are formed under stressful situations are bad.
Yeah, it never lasts.
You know that was the best take he did.
yeah.
No. I think he got it right. I'm certain that he got it right, but I think they've used the one where he gets it wrong because it's more charming.
Yeah, I don't know either way. I didn't even notice. I was so on board.
It was so fun.
And then Sandy says, "Well, we'll have to base it on sex then."
So
Fantastic.
And then
everyone gathers around the train and starts taking photos of them.
they don't
And
have
cheering.
more taking photos. They're just watching.
They're cheering.
No, there's people taking
'cause there's
photos.
the tour bus.
Yeah, and the news, anyway, the camera starts panning out. Everyone's still there. Pans out for like 30 seconds because the credits are rolling. They start fucking
They never get off.
on that train.
They never get off the train. They just the last thing
And
you see
people
them is
are, like,
making out
flocking towards
and
them.
making out in like a on top of each other kind
Absolutely.
of way, and then you pan out and there's just people clapping as Keanu and
As I said,
Sandra.
everyone having the best time.
And that is the end of the movie Speed. Final thoughts? What do you think about the movie Speed?
Oh, I love the movie
yeah,
Speed.
great.
I absolutely loved
I
it.
think that's probably pretty clear. I have a thing. Who do we think earned their paycheck in the movie Speed? Who do we think is the best supporting cast? This doesn't need to be an actor necessarily. It could be the editors. It could be who I can find out who.
Honestly, I'm going to say whoever wrote the theme song.
The
The
theme
theme
does absolutely whip.
slaps.
Beth Grant's character has a whole track named after her on the album.
I did not know that.
It's called Whatever Her Name's Is Death.
Look, that was a huge turning point.
Yeah, it's a good track as well.
It's funny because when I remembered movie Speed and we were talking about doing Beth Grant, I was like, was she the woman that jumped from the bus? And then as soon as she came up, I was like, yes, of course, she is. Like, it's an iconic moment, iconic character.
I'm going to give it to Alan Ruck. I think he's so funny in this movie. I think it's so good. I think it rules. I think he is just kind of like, you see the first time you see him, you're like, that's a guy, which I am always very appreciative of.
I'm going to give it to Richard Schiff.
Absolutely. He
really
shows
nailed
up
it.
for maybe 4 seconds of screen time. He owns it.
Memorable.
And he dies really well.
Really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard Schiff.
Richard Schiff.
Uh-huh.
Best performance in the movie Speed.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, Beth.
I think that this movie, I was watching it and I had to look up when Mission Impossible came out because I was convinced that Mission Impossible was earlier.
Year after.
And I went, yeah, it's a year after.
Yeah.
And I was like, there are so many things in this film that Mission Impossible have literally just directly lifted, including two people fighting on a train and tunnel. Yes, there's no helicopter there. They added that, in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
With like an older kind of zany, like there is so many things that they have in common. There's elevator stuff going on. There's like,
elevator stuff.
honestly, they're really similar movies.
I think Mission Impossible, for my money, is a better.
We got spies,
That
we
seems
got that
impossible.
kind of thing.
That's
Mission-
impossible? It's Mission Impossible.
I think this movie is really good. It's not quite up there with Point Break. I prefer Point Break. But
Point Break's
if I'm like ranking Keanu actions, it's like Point Break, Matrix this, then John Wick 1.
Yeah,
I think I prefer this to
Matrix
oh.
Did you
Reloaded.
just rate Point Break over
Matrix
Matrix?
Revolutions.
It's weird. I think Matrix is a better movie. I think Point Break's a better action movie. Is that dumb?
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, okay.
No, okay. Matrix, Point Break. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's the
wrong way to-
Matrix.
And I think I do.
Matrix.
I think it is whether or not I prefer this to John Wick.
Mark Mancina composed the music to this film. A guy. Moana, Tarzan, the 2016 one, Training Day, Speed, Brother Bear, the new movie The Sea Beast, Bad Boys, and Con Air. And that's pretty
Actually,
much.
let's be real. The people who earned this film are definitely the stunt drivers
Yeah, absolutely. That is, an enormous stunt team.
and the editors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The editing is incredible.
I mean,
and Jan de Bont as a cinematographer, the movie looks amazing.
It was really interesting listening to Jan de Bont talk about Speed because he basically does Speed and then he just doesn't do movies. He goes back to DOPing, which makes you assume.
He does do Speed 2 Cruise Control.
He just does these two. He does this, which absolutely slaps, makes $1 million, $1 million, and then like Speed 2, which is less well received but still made a ton of money, and then it's like back to DOPing.
Yeah,
Which makes me wonder if maybe Speed 2 is the thing that broke him.
Yeah, Speed 2 famous is not very good apparently.
Yeah.
Won several Razzies.
Though it does have Glenn Plummer in it, so how bad could it be? Jaguar owner is back, which should have been the tagline.
I have a hypothetical question for you guys.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
All
I
right,
love
this
a
is what do you think? Pitch me the ending of this film. So Sam gets shot.
'Cause,
Sandra Bullock doesn't.
What we're saying is like, hey, the ending of this movie is kind of wild. It feels kind of added in. What would we do instead of the train going off the rails?
what
Because
were
it's
what were you saying?
Giving you a hypothetical.
You went
Oh,
to-
okay.
and this is a Beth Grant related hypothetical.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying Sam gets shot.
Can we call it Grant Me a Wish?
Yes.
Great.
Grab me a wish. Sam gets shot. He gets taken away. It's not Sandra that grabs the wheel. It's Beth Grant.
Absolutely.
What do you think happens in that film?
Exactly the same thing. I think Keanu and Beth Grant fuck by the end of the movie.
I think
Do you think she stops the bus immediately and they blow up?
I think because it's Beth Grant that crib is not full of cans. It's full of a real baby.
Jesus.
And then the movie, like, it is a completely different tone for
because
the
it's
rest
like
of the
a
movie.
karmic imbalance? Like, what?
I just
why
think-
is that your immediate go-to?
You get Beth Grant, you give her work. You give her stuff to work with.
No, I think the exact same thing would happen. I think they'd have a really cute, kind of cozy relationship. She'd be like, romance is formed under pressure. They never last.
The movie's twice as long, and it follows Beth really dealing with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot less action.
And the bus is slower. The
bus-
bus is like 30 miles an hour or something.
The bus is slower. She gets off. She survives, and it's mainly about her trauma. And we
I was
find,
gonna say.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like a absolute deep dive into PTSD.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's an interesting film.
I think that's what happens if you put Beth Grant in the lead.
In the driver's seat.
Oh, can I give you
Fuck me, that was good.
really funny, a fun thing? So Sandra Bullock and Beth went to the same college.
Ah.
Wildcats.
So we had gone to the Arizona Wildcats. We had gone to the same college, though obviously I'm a lot older than her, but she'd been doing pretty well. And the school put out this little alumni booklet and they had given her this huge picture of me. It took about 45 seconds to fall completely in love with her. She was so open and down to earth, and we immediately started making fun of our teachers. You know how it is. We just had the greatest time on the shoot, and she really saved me because I had a baby, and I couldn't bring her to the set, and I was depressed about it. But Sandy kept me laughing about it, and we'd have 4 o'clock chocolate time, and we would salsa dance.
This is the most
I don't
adorable,
know.
wholesome
She just got me through it, and I was grateful for her. That sounds like the best hang.
Imagine that, and then also you're flirting with Keanu Reeves constantly.
Absolutely. What a life you're living.
What a life Sandy's living at that time. And this launches her. Like, she was not big before this.
Yeah, that's she says that as well. It's
Yeah,
like
this
they were
launched
walking
her career.
They were waiting to see who was cast. So we went to see who it was, and in
Because
walked
they couldn't
Sandy.
get DeGeneres.
They couldn't get Ellen.
They couldn't get Ellen.
What an incredible time it would have been. And shall we talk about what our movie next week will be?
Also, sorry, Jeff Daniels' character was the bad guy in the original script.
That's
That would be kind of
worse.
cool.
Doesn't make much sense to me.
No, I'm into
Because
it.
then is he the one doing the elevator as well?
That's kind of what I expected when I rewatched this film without being able to remember it quite properly. I looked at Jeff Daniels and I was like, is he somehow in charge of
That would have
Dennis
just
Hopper?
been Mission Impossible, though, where it turns out that
100%.
the guy
Yes,
is the guy.
that is just
so
Mission
maybe they just
Impossible.
got the original script and rolled
Yeah.
with that. They were like, maybe we'll do this one.
I think it's so much cleaner as it is. Interestingly, this script was inspired by a misremembered Kurosawa film.
Really?
Yeah.
Called Speed.
Train something.
Train Speed.
Train. It's like called Runaway Train.
Runaway Train.
I've actually got it properly written down here. But yeah, Graham Yost watched that movie, did not speak Japanese, and misunderstood it, thinking that there was a bomb on the train.
Wait, he watched it without subtitles.
I think he watched it with subtitles, but he just misunderstood it. It was like, oh man, I love that
Great movie about
Kurosawa
that bomb on a train.
movie with a bomb on the train. And then
It's
he was like,
no, that's like a pastoral
it was like,
movie
wait,
where-
I had that idea? Oh yeah, that's where this movie came from.
That is wonderful news.
Jan de Boom also DOP'd on a movie called Speed Fever. I don't know what it's about, but I just thought that was weird. It's interesting. We watched I can't go into this. This is such a tangent, but it was interesting watching this after watching Fast and Furious 10. Like the difference between two different fast movies, speedy movies, as you might say. It's like practical effects make a difference.
Practical effects make a huge difference, and
It's so much better. I love it.
I mean, you can't. It's very difficult to compare the two things. Fast X is the 10th movie in a franchise.
I
and,
know
all of that, and it's doing a completely different thing. It's
Absolutely.
now a melodrama where rather than an action movie. I think it's like a melodrama with cars rather than an action movie. But yeah, the difference of like, hey, what if you had a tightly plotted, fairly low stakes, like not world defining thing happen, and it turns out it works really well.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of, I don't need to do this.
We'll cut all this
I was
out.
going to talk about Seven Samurai. Kurosawa, it's like the greatest thing about that is that it's not the worldwide stakes of the thing. It's like about a single village.
Do we think that this is the best vehicle out of control film ever made?
Speed 2 Cruise Control. Is this the best vehicle out of control movie?
Cars 2,
What about
Maida's
Christine?
Revenge.
Christine,
She's pretty out of control.
She is. Christine is out of control. That girl is out of control.
Titan?
That's not a very good movie, I think, Christine.
not at all.
Titan? Well, I think
Well, a truck is out of control horny.
that's true. No,
What about
because she's not a vehicle.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable's so good.
Snowpiercer?
Obviously, they're very similar movies, Unstoppable and Speed. Unstoppable is kind of the Speed 2 that should have been.
Dane Cook's Planes.
Dane Cook's Planes. Is he in Planes?
He's the lead.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't check me on that.
Does Ghost Ship count?
Yeah.
But not better.
It's out of control. Don't want to get on there.
It's out of control in like a metaphorical way. It's like it's out of control.
It's out of control.
Flight.
Okay.
Flight counts.
Hmm?
So
But
does
he's out of control in that, not the.
Sully.
Now, Sully, that's a plane out of control.
Mm-hmm. Apollo
House
11.
Moving Castle.
Apollo 11.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Mm.
Ron Howard.
Ugh. Hate Ron Howard.
House moving
a
castle,
running
not
thing
really.
for this podcast. Ron Howard will come up again. He's done a lot of good movies.
He's apparently incredibly nice.
And apparently he's really nice to work with.
I just hate him.
Well, on that note, we will be doing another Beth Grant favorite next week.
Oh yeah, baby.
We're going to take a bit of a. I reckon the next film we're talking about is like, to me, it's peak Grant.
It's kind of her. It is kind of the quintessential Grant performance.
Seems to be the most thing that she's recognized for. Like, she's talked about it. It's the thing that she's kind of recognized for the most.
And I think kind of her favorite character. She talks a lot about how much she loves this character.
That's nice.
She's a huge part of that movie. Like
Yeah.
a massive character in it.
Huge
as
part
well.
of the success.
Yeah, and I say she is a really important character in Speed as well. But this one we're talking about, which is going to be, we'll just say, everyone's favorite cult classic, which we're all confused as to whether it's good or bad. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Donnie Darko.
Donald Darko himself.
Darkness himself. We get to talk about Richard Kelly, which is very exciting.
Fascinating.
Get to talk about Jakey G. I love Jakey G.
We all love Jakey
We
G.
get to
I
talk
like
Maggie G.
We get to talk about Maggie G.
I like Maggie Gurr.
We also get to talk about good old Patrick Swayze.
Oh, Swayze is so
We
good.
watched Johnny Darko to see like how big Beth Grant's
Absolutely
role was.
hammered.
And we maybe got fucking wasted.
We got
watching
so
Johnny Darko.
drunk that I fell asleep in the next movie and
Yeah,
then
which we watched Red Eye.
criticized the next movie.
Because you fell asleep
To be
and didn't
fair-
understand it.
in the bit that explained what the movie was about.
And yeah, Patrick Swayze is so good in that. We're going to talk about it next week. Okay, thank you so much for watching and listening to Supporting Cast, tentatively named. I have been Lincoln. That's been Seamus. This has been Charlie. And we're signing off.
And remember, never take it for Beth granted.